Published figures suggest that in Australia, producing wheat and other grains result in at least 25 times more sentient animals being killed per kilogram of usable protein, more environmental damage, and a great deal more animal cruelty than does farming red meat. How is this possible? Agricultural to produce wheat, rice, pulses require clear felling native vegetation. That act alone results in deaths of thousands of Australian animals, plants per hectare. Since Europeans arrived on this continent, we have lost more than half of Australia's unique vegetation, mostly to increase production of monocultures of introduced species for human consumption. In some cases, rangelands have been substantially altered to increase percentages of stock-friendly plants. Grazing can also cause significant damage such as soil loss and erosion, but it doesn't result in the native ecosystem blitzkrieg required to grow crops. This environmental damage is causing some well-known environmentalists to question their own preconceptions. British environmentalist advocate George Monbiot, for example, publicly converted from vegan to omnivore after reading Simon Fairley's expose about the meat's sustainability. And the environmental activist Larry Keith documented the awesome damage to global environments involved in producing plant foods for human consumption. Producing protein from wheat means plowing pasture land and planting with seed. Anyone who has sat on a plowing tractor knows the predatory birds that follow you all day are not because they have nothing better to do. Plowing and harvesting kill small animals, snakes, lizards, and other animals in vast numbers. In addition, millions of mice are poisoned in grain storage facilities every year. However, the largest and best researched loss of sentient life is the poisoning of mice during plagues. At least 100 mice are killed per hectare per year to grow grain. Average yields are about 1.4 tons of wheat hectare. 13% of wheat is usable protein. Therefore, at least 55 sentient animals die to produce 100 kilograms of usable plant protein, 25 times more than for the same amount of rangelands beef. Some of this grain is used to finish beef, cattle, and feedlots. Some of this is food for dairy, cattle, pigs, poultry, but it's still the case that many more sentient lives are sacrificed to produce usable protein from grains than from rangelands cattle. There's a further issue to consider here, the question of sentience, the capacity to feel, perceive, or be conscious. Replacing red meat with grain products leads to many more sentient animal deaths, for greater animal suffering, significantly more environmental degradation. Protein obtained from grazing livestock costs far fewer lives per kilogram. It is a more humane, ethical, and environmentally friendly dietary option. So what does a hungry human do? Our teeth and our digestive system are adopted for omnivory. But we are now challenged to think about philosophical issues. We worry about the ethics involved in killing grazing animals and wonder if there are other more humane ways of obtaining adequate nutrients. Relying on grain and pulses brings destruction of native ecosystems, significant threats to native species, and at least 25 times more death of sentient animals per kilogram of food. Most of these animals sing love songs to each other until we humanely mass slaughter them.
Yes, this black bear was killed by a combine.
Now let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the claim were true, that indeed more animal deaths resulted in production of plant foods over animal foods. Would this fact, in itself, make a sound argument in favor of eating pasture-raised animal flesh and secretions? Not in our view, since the intention is a key factor that we use to assess the moral weight of an action. The unintentional killing of field mice and other animals during the process of harvesting essential food crops is a vastly different situation.
This is a person that died out in a sugarcane field working around the harvester. He got killed by the machine.
Casanova's crooning passionate melodies to their sweetheart is nothing new in the language of love, and it seems that the practice is more widespread than you might have thought. According to researchers at Washington University's School of Medicine in St. Louis, ultrasonic sounds may be made by male mice to cause their female counterparts to swoon. Frankly, it doesn't matter much for us because we don't get a chance to hear that kind of stuff.
Some of you may be wondering now, why would I make this video? Well, I found some substance in this article that was written. I wanted to read some brief passages from it to you, throw some screenshots up that show some kind of assimilation to what the guy's talking about and what actually goes on, and kind of shed some light on there just as many by multiplying big numbers into the amount of animals that are killed for regular food, beef, pork, chicken, stuff like that. When it comes to farming, a sentient being is a sentient being is a sentient being. There's no excuse for it. If you're going to talk about killing sentient beings in general, there are way more sentient beings that are killed during farming operations and things of this nature, chemicals being sprayed to kill insects and and other animals that can get sick from the chemicals that are being sprayed, compared to the cattle and stuff that we use for nutrition, as opposed to farming operation. So, and I've been part of this before. I've worked at a co-op delivering fertilizers and chemicals and stuff to farmers, watching them spray this stuff, been on the harvesters while they're harvesting stuff, picking up animals and watching things run from the combine as you're running them over and you're crushing things. It's just, it's a fact, and vegans don't want to see it. They don't want to admit to it because they're looking at these big, beefy, bulky animals and stuff that we're eating. But they don't realize that no matter what you do to get food, because we're so industrialized now, you're going to kill animals. So the way that we do it for food in farming operation, instead of grain and vegetables and fruits and things like that, where we kill many more times the amount that we already kill, it doesn't necessarily make it any better. If anything, it's worse. So it's definitely something to think about. I'm going to link the article in the description box below. You guys be the judge. Thanks, guys.